Is Marquise Canty, and this is Chapter 5, Fear of Calling the Police. Okay, so this is a Legal Immigration and Reform and Responsibility Act. Um, it was passed in 1996, and it allowed for the Department of Homeland Security to work with the local police, and we'll be focusing on the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. To carry out the act, you must be a U.S. citizen, pass a background investigation, have a minimum of 2 years' experience, and have no disciplinary actions pending. And these requirements are for the police officers. And the main goal of the act was to crack down on extreme operations, which included human smuggling, gang or crime activity, sexual related offenses, or money laundering. And this we will be focusing on the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. It was a corrupt group of individuals led by Joe Arpaio. They have thousands of lawsuits. I believe it was over 2,300 times that they've been sued for things like abusing inmates, racial profiling, and illegally carrying out immigration policies. The sheriff, Joe Arpaio, he implemented crime suppression sweeps into Latino communities, which pretty much turned regular traffic stops or other arrests into deportations. And these were, of course, racially profiled. And as a result of this, the immigrants no longer were calling the police for help due to the fear of deportation. And with a couple of cases, I have three here. The first being Alma Chacon. She was arrested for no reason during a regular traffic stop. But the officer had stated later on that she had an expired tag, which of course turned out not to be true. Second case, Maria Martinez. She was arrested for identity theft at her own garage sale, simply because her license was expired. And lastly, we have Pedro Marquina. He was arrested because he could not prove citizenship, but he was released later after he could provide documentation. And the common denominator here is that, these arrests would not have been made if they were, of course, any other race. And here, action taking place. I have four things listed here. With the first being Tent City. It was a segregated area created by the sheriff. However, there were 70 immigrant organizations that gathered in Phoenix to protest a forced march of shackled immigrants. The next was Phil Gordon. He was important in Phoenix as he was the mayor. He condemned the actions of the sheriff, and he criticized the sheriff publicly for his relationship and admirations for neo-Nazis. And another action taking place was actually a court case, Melendrez versus Arpaio. And during this trial, the sheriff testified that his agents were trained under the act, that original act that allowed officers to be trained for the immigration policies. But it turned out that they actually were not trained, and it weakened his credibility regarding racial profiling. And on May 24th of 2013, the U.S. District Court had ruled that the sheriff's office and their suppression sweeps were unconstitutional. And lastly, we have the Group 1 Arizona, which was formed in 2010 as a direct response to anti-immigrant activities. and the organization seeks to mobilize Latinos in Arizona to vote and to become more politically active. And obviously, this is to mitigate or counteract the acts of the sheriff, so they don't have to deal with, the oppression on the political level. And that's it. Thanks.